You got 1 minute. 1 minute, Martha's sake. They don't want to hear this, Martha. Come on, let's go. Quick. Come on, let's go.
All right. I'm coming. Thank you, President Trump.
That's Martha McSally, an unelected incumbent Republican senator from sweltering Arizona. She's a big Trump supporter, an anti-immigration hawk, and former fighter pilot who has been dropping policy bombs in the Senate since her appointment in 2019. I'm producer Luria Freeman, and here's the story of how one woman went from losing a blistering Senate race in 2018 only to be appointed to the state's other Senate seat weeks later. The youngest of 5 children, Martha Elizabeth McSally was born in Warwick, Rhode Island in 1966. Her father, an attorney, passed away when McSally was just 12. In the aftermath of his death, McSally's mother became a reading specialist to support the family. McSally excelled in academia. She was the valedictorian at her high school and won a scholarship to the U.S. Air Force Academy. People magazine notes she was pestering her instructors to make her a fighter pilot, despite the military's ban on women flying combat jets. She clung to her dream after graduating in 1988, even as she studied for a master's degree from Harvard University's School of Public Policy. And when the Defense Department opened the cockpit to 7 women in 1993, McSally was among them. She was the first ever female fighter pilot to fly in combat. McSally clocked in more than 100 combat hours in her single-seat A-10 Warthog that has a top speed of 517 miles per hour and a 30mm Gatling gun on the nose. It was known as a gun with an airplane attached. She patrolled the no-fly zone over Iraq and directed search and rescue missions in Afghanistan. In 2001, while serving as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, McSally took the national spotlight when she sued then Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld over the military requirement that servicewomen wear Muslim garb when off base in Saudi Arabia. She won the case and was applauded by Republican conservatives and liberal feminists. Years after her service, in 2019, during a hearing on sexual assault and misconduct in the military, McSally bravely brought to light a harrowing detail from her time in the Air Force.
The perpetrators abused their position of power in profound ways. And in one case, I was preyed upon and then raped by a superior officer. I stayed silent for many years, but later in my career, as the military grappled with scandals and their wholly inadequate responses, I felt the need to let some people know I too was a survivor. I was horrified at how my attempt to share generally my experiences were handled. I almost separated from the Air Force at 18 years over my despair. Like many victims, I felt the system was raping me all over again.
McSally's brave revelation was met with praise from both sides of the aisle. However, her ultimate decision on the legislation, which would have removed the military from taking on cases of sexual assault, confused many. As the New York Times notes, the woman who said she was raped by the system said that the system should continue to handle cases such as hers. She said that she was opposed to Senate legislation to take the prosecution of sexual assault cases out of the hands of the military chain of command, endangering the bill's prospects and confounding other sexual assault victims. McSally served 26 years in the Air Force and retired in 2010 as a full colonel. In 2012, she ran for a U.S. House seat unsuccessfully. She ran for Arizona's 2nd Congressional District, but lost the contest narrowly. A couple years later, she tried again. The second time running for a seat was a success. She finally won Arizona's 2nd Congressional District in a blistering race by just over 150 votes. She won re-election in 2016. McSally was often looked at as a moderate Republican. As the Phoenix New-Times wrote, in 2015, she split the Republicans to vote against a bill amendment that would have defunded the DACA program. Then, when former Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the end to DACA, McSally wrote House Speaker Paul Ryan a letter, urging him to come up with legislation to protect the Dreamers. She also criticized Trump during his campaign, tweeting, "Trump's comments are disgusting. Joking about sexual assault is unacceptable. I'm appalled." McSally never endorsed Trump and even went further, saying, "That's just not how leaders carry themselves." She also called the early weeks of his administration tremendously bumpy. But then came 2018. McSally had seen Trump take Arizona by 4 points in 2016, and when she announced her Senate run, all of her moderate takes, pro-DACA policy, and Trump-bashing rhetoric abruptly came to an end. McSally even removed a video on YouTube of her defending the DACA program. Back in 2018, after McSally announced her candidacy, AZ Central wrote, "In just a few weeks, the anti-Trump Martha McSally has transformed herself into a profanity-laden, tough as nails, build the wall kind of gal, kissing up to the president."
My friend, Martha McSally, she's the real deal. She's tough.
Like our president, I'm tired of PC politicians and their BS excuses. I'm a fighter pilot, and I talk like one.
Despite trying to become the guy she once seemingly hated, she lost the race to Democrat Kyrsten Sinema by 56,000 votes.
Hey everybody, I
I just called Kirsten Sinema and congratulated her on becoming Arizona's first female senator after a hard-fought battle.
But lucky for McSally, after John McCain passed away and his appointed successor resigned, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey appointed McSally to the state's other Senate seat, meaning she is sitting unelected and legislating on behalf of a state that did not vote for her. It's kind of like when you're not invited to the party, but a friend of yours is, and that friend invites you. You weren't really invited, but you get to go.
Thank you, Governor Ducey. I'm really humbled by the confidence that you've placed in me, and I'm honored by this appointment.
McSally is anti-abortion, against same-sex marriage, and equal treatment of transgender students. She's a proponent of raising the retirement age and wants to convert Medicare to a voucher system, which could lead to higher costs for seniors already enrolled. She also voted to eliminate protections for pre-existing conditions, which would threaten the estimated 50 to 129 million non-elderly Americans who have pre-existing health conditions. Over the course of her career, she's taken over $1 million from the healthcare industry, as well as over $700,000 from the oil and gas industry. When COVID-19 hit, McSally praised Trump's handling of the virus and got all weird.
Neil, this is what I know. I learned the day I entered the military is never trust a communist. China is to blame for this pandemic and the death of thousands of Americans.
McSally is up for re-election on November 3rd, 2020. Early polls have suggested she'll lose Arizona by a landslide to former astronaut and Navy veteran Mark Kelly. As McSally sees Democrat Kelly's numbers rising, she has been hesitant to go all in on Trump.
Are you proud of your support for President Trump?
Well, I'm proud that I'm fighting for Arizonans on things like cutting your taxes.
Senator, the question was, are you proud of your support for President Trump?
I'm proud to be fighting for Arizona every single day.
Is that a yes or a no for President
Putting
Trump?
legislation on President Trump's desk.
So you're proud of your support for President
You
Trump?
look at the legislation we put on his desk, it's to cut Arizona taxes.
It sounds like she is proud of her support
I'm
for
proud to be
President
fighting
Trump.
As McSally struggles to keep her head above water in the race for Arizona's second Senate seat, she has urged voters to fast a meal so they can donate to her campaign.
We're doing our part to catch up, to get our message out, but it takes resources. So if anybody can give, I'm not ashamed to ask, just to invest. If you can give $1, $5, if you can fast a meal and give what that would be.
Starving for McSally is a strange strategy, but this is a desperate Republican who has flipped on a dime for political convenience. She's clearly pulling out all the stops considering the last time Arizona had a say, the voters rejected her. Only time will tell if her malleable spine will work to her advantage or be her demise. Until then, it's unclear exactly who Martha McSally really is.
Hey, thanks for watching Who Is. Did you know we have a podcast now too? On Who Is, the podcast, I'll dive deep into the fascinating lives of the people who run things, whose decisions impact every aspect of our lives. How did they get where they are today? And knowing that, what might they do next? From politicians to the ultra-rich, to military contractors and monarchs and media moguls, I'll introduce you to the reporters and experts who know these real-life world molders best. Sharp-eyed observers and confidants who observe our subjects as they make the decisions that define our everyday lives. To see more, hit the link or search Who Is on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And for more of the video series you know and love, be sure to check out the Snapchat versions and our series playlists on YouTube and Facebook.